Japan's benchmark Nikkei is around 225. That was weighed down by the failure of the United States and Iran to actually come to a peace agreement. And in the first 15 minutes of the trading, the 225 issue Nikkei stock average fell around 175.89 points or around 0.31%. And this has now been said as far as when it comes to the other markets are also concerned. When it comes to Hong Kong, when it comes to South Korea's Kospi, that has also been affected. And this warning that is now coming in from President Trump that he will now swiftly begin a blockade of the ships that are entering or leaving the strategic Strait of Hormuz after ceasefire talks in Pakistan that ended without any peace agreement. Ashesha is connected with us. Ashesha, good morning. How are the markets now in India reacting this Monday morning?
Well, yes, clearly Indian markets are reacting negatively to the kind of developments that we saw overnight. On Saturday, talks in Islamabad failed, after which US President Donald Trump has given some negative commentary when it comes to blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, and that is the reason all Asian markets had started in the red today, and we are seeing that kind of reaction for Indian equity markets in trade today as well. Nifty is now down 1.7% as we speak. We have seen a 400-point decline for the Nifty 50 index in trade today. 23,640 is where the Nifty is trading at the moment. Sensex too has seen a decline of a whopping 1,400 points in today's trading session, and Nifty Bank too is seeing cuts of 2.3% in trade today. So clearly not all is well for Indian equity markets, in line with what Asian markets are doing this morning. In fact, we are seeing some repercussions come in for the oil market as well on account of comments around Strait of Hormuz. We have Brent crude, which is now trading at $107 per barrel. We have seen some spike up of about 7 to 8% over the today morning itself, after the cool off that we saw last week because of the ceasefire agreement. All of that has unwounded yet again, and we are seeing some bit of rebound come in for Indian equity markets and for global oil market, and hence we are seeing this kind of reaction for equity markets globally, including Indian equity markets.
So the recovery and the gains that has been made post the announcement of the peace talks with Islamabad, that seems to have been uncovered as far as Ashesha when it comes to the markets that are now opening today, because that seems to be the kind of virtual bloodbath that has now been witnessed, whether be it in Japan and Hong Kong and South Korea, and now even in the Indian markets that have just opened.
Yes, clearly. We had seen some bit of recovery last week after that ceasefire news came in between Iran and Israel and America. But of course, all of those gains have reversed. Some of those gains rather have been reversed in today's trading session. Back then, of course, Nifty saw levels of 22,500 thereabouts, but we are at 23,600 for the Nifty, which means we have unrecovered. We have recovered quite a bit, but the fall has not been as severe as expected. But of course, Asian markets are not doing well, and so is the case for Indian equity markets. 1,400 points lower for Sensex. Nifty and Nifty Bank are also bleeding in today's trading session.
So what does it reflect, Ashesha? I mean, is there still some kind of optimism within the markets there, because the ceasefire still holds, as far, fragile it may be, but however, there is a warning of naval blockade that has been made by President Trump. So again, would that have a bigger and a longer impact on the markets?
Clearly, so everything depends on things that happen on the geopolitical front. Any kind of commentary that comes in from US President Donald Trump, that comes from Iran and Israel, will also be crucial. But important to note that we could see repercussions on the oil market. Remember, at one point in time when the war broke out, Brent crude touched that $119.5 per barrel. That's the kind of spike up that we saw after the war broke out, on fears and on actual Strait of Hormuz blockage. But after that, we did see some kind of recovery when it comes to oil prices on the back of a ceasefire agreement that was agreed to by both the parties. But 2 days later, it was only broken. And that is the reason oil prices shot up yet again.
Yes, because it was probably for the first time in the last 40 days, the prices of Brent crude had gone below the $100 per barrel mark. However, that situation has been now reversed. It has crossed the $104 per mark as well. A significant rise of at least 8% that has been looked upon in hours after these talks. in Pakistan failed. Thank you very much, Ashesha, for getting us that breaking update. So that's we are now looking at as far as the markets are concerned in India this Monday morning. Indian markets are now in the red. Nifty also has been now trading in the negative. We are looking at the same kind. Also now been reflecting as far as Sensex is concerned. Asian markets are also in red, and that seems to be reflecting here in the Indian markets as well. That's a live market tracker that we are getting for our viewers. We're going to head into a very short break. The morning news continues on the other side.